Hey guys, welcome back to Ripe Stories. This video is all about super entitled parents, but the stories are really satisfying, so let's dive right in. The first one is titled, I went no contact with my family after they demanded money and publicly mocked me. So my husband and I both come from challenging backgrounds. We grew up poor, left home at 18 for college, and built our lives from scratch. Neither of us had financial support from our families. Through hard work and smart choices, we have created comfortable lives for ourselves. We are dinks, dual income no kids, who prioritize experiences over possessions. We live in a modest home, but we love to travel. About 2 years ago, I started posting travel content online. It was just for fun at first, but then it gained traction and I began earning some money and getting occasional free products or even hotel stays. Nothing life-changing, but enough to offset some travel costs and make it a worthwhile side hustle. Since I live across the country from my family and only saw them during holidays, they never really knew how my financial situation had improved over the years. Once I started posting more travel content, however, things changed dramatically. Then the first request came from my mom. She needed help with her electric bill. It was winter, she was on a fixed income, and yeah, I was happy to help. I sent her $300, told her to let me know if she needed anything else, and then my brother called about car repairs. Just until payday, he promised. I sent $500. A month later, my aunt needed help with medical bills, so I sent $400, and yeah, these requests made sense and helping felt good. I had been in tight spots before in my own life, and now I could be the person who helped when others needed it. But gradually, the nature of the request changed. Hey, can you send me $200 for concert tickets? My cousin texted, would you be able to help me with my credit card bill? I went a little crazy during the sales. My sister asked. The frequency increased too. Instead of occasional emergencies, it became weekly requests from various family members, and my husband started to notice. They are taking advantage of you, he said one night after I got off the phone with my brother, who now needed money for a new gaming system. They see your travel posts and think that you're loaded. I defended them at first. Well, they are family, they would do the same for me. He raised an eyebrow and asked, would they though? Did they ever help you when you needed it? The truth stung, to be honest. When I was struggling through college or working multiple jobs to make rent in my 20s, no one had offered any help. I had faced eviction notices and eaten ramen for weeks straight without a single family member checking if I needed anything. My husband and I created a system. Any request over $100 needed mutual agreement, and I would prioritize only my mom's needs. Everything else would be evaluated case by case. The requests kept coming, but my responses changed. I'm sorry, I cannot help with that. That's not something I can contribute to right now. Have you looked into payment plans? And yeah, my family noticed. Comments started appearing on my posts. Must be nice to travel while your family struggles. Funny how you forget where you came from when you get a little money. Then came the most outrageous request. My brother's fiancée called me directly. We've been thinking about the wedding, she said. Since you're doing so well, we thought maybe you could pay for it. Pay for part of it? I asked, confused. No, like, cover it completely. The whole thing, venue, catering, my dress, everything. I nearly dropped my phone. That would be tens of thousands of dollars. Well, yeah, you guys are always traveling and staying in nice hotels. You post all that fancy food. You can afford it. When I declined, she was genuinely shocked. But you're family, this is what family does. My husband was furious when I told him, they are treating you like an ATM, not a sister or daughter. I then limited my financial support to only my mom after that, emergency situations only, nothing frivolous. She seemed to understand, but things felt strained, and then came the revelation that changed everything. During a call with my mom, she accidentally mentioned something about my cousin's new car. What new car? I asked. The one you helped him get last month, she said. Mom, I did not give my cousin any money for a car. A long silence followed. Then, oh, I thought he said, well, never mind. After some pressing, the truth came out. My mother had been lying about why she needed money. She had been asking on behalf of other family members and passing the cash along to them after I'd cut them off. I felt so betrayed. The one person I thought I could trust had been manipulating me. No more, I told her. I cannot help anymore if you're going to lie to me anyway. The calls and texts slowed after that. I thought maybe they had finally gotten the message, and then my cousin, who actually does well for himself but has 4 kids, called me. "What is this about you not helping your mom anymore?" he demanded. "It's complicated," I replied, not wanting to air family drama. "No, it is simple. She raised you and now she needs help and you're turning your back on her. She's asking me for money now and I've got 4 kids to feed, you don't have any. Step up and do your part." I tried to explain about the lying, but then he cut me off. "We all need to stick together and take care of the people who took care of us. That is what family means." I ended the call feeling awful. Was I really being selfish? Had success changed me? A week later, my younger cousin, who also posts content online, made a video about people who forget where they came from when they get money. I would not have even known about it, except multiple family members tagged me. When I opened the comments, my heart sank. My aunt had written, "I won't say any names, but it rhymes with Clara." My name is Sarah, by the way. Worse, other family members had liked it, added laughing emojis, or commented things like "facts," and "we all know who this is about." That was my breaking point. I blocked them all, every single family member, and removed them from my social media. It's been a year now. Sometimes I miss them terribly, especially during holidays. I wonder if I overreacted or if I should try to reconcile with at least some of them. My husband thinks I made the right call. "They showed you who they are," he says. "Believe them." But there are moments when I doubt myself. These are people I grew up with, people I love despite everything. My mom is getting older too, and I worry about missing her final years. So Reddit, am I the a-hole for cutting off my entire family over money and social media drama? And yeah guys, I'm curious what you have to say about this one. Do you think OP was acting like the a-hole here, or would you have done the same? Honestly, I would agree with OP's husband in this story. He said that OP gets treated by the family essentially like an ATM, and it absolutely sounds like that. So I think that OP did the right thing in cutting contact with them. This is not just some silly social media drama. This goes way further than that. That was a toxic situation. Anyway, a user in the comments said, "Not the a-hole, family doesn't treat each other like walking ATMs. You tried to help when you could, set boundaries when needed, and they responded by publicly mocking you. You don't owe them anything, especially not tens of thousands for a wedding." The entitlement is astounding. Another person said, "Not the a-hole, ask yourself, if you lost everything tomorrow, would these family members even help you? From what you described, they would be the first to laugh at your downfall. That is not family." Comment number 3, everyone sucks here. While your family's behavior is clearly entitled and manipulative, cutting everyone off completely might be an overreaction. Your mother betrayed your trust and that is inexcusable, but it is always the but, guys. It just always is. Nothing good comes after a but in 90% of the cases. Anyway, but a total family exile punishes even relatives who might not have been directly involved. Also, the public mockery was childish and hurtful, absolutely, but instead of blocking everyone instantly, a frank conversation setting firm boundaries might have preserved relationships with at least a few decent family members. Family dynamics are rarely black and white, and they were wrong to treat you like an ATM, but completely shutting the door on potential reconciliation with everyone seems harsh. Maybe consider allowing contact with those who demonstrate genuine respect for your boundaries. And yeah guys, if you were in OP's shoes, would you ever try to potentially reconcile with any member of this family? Let me know in the comments, and while you're at it, please don't forget to like the video, because that helps me tremendously. Reaching 1000 likes would be absolutely amazing. And now the next one is the title story, which is titled, "Parents found out I own a farm. Demand that I gift it to my brother." So my life has not been an easy one, and when I thought I had finally found peace, a post that a friend of mine made on the internet brought things crashing down around me. So for context, I'm 29 years old and I left home when I was 16. I ended up living with friends or in shelters until I made enough money to finally rent an apartment. I worked long days, often having 2 or 3 jobs at a time. I had not done well in school and didn't get my high school diploma, and that meant that there were less opportunities out there for me, but I managed washing dishes, cleaning bathrooms, and doing other tasks that many see as undesirable. One day, things changed when I helped an older man boost his truck. He would come into the city to do some errands and had been in such a rush to get an appointment that he'd forgotten to turn off the headlights on his vehicle, causing the battery to run low. We got to talking, and I found out that he was a farmer and he was looking for help. His offer of a job came with a place to stay in a small cabin on the farm. I sublet my apartment for the duration of my lease and left my jobs in the city to go live on his farm. I knew it would be hard work, but the prospect of living rent-free, not having to wonder where my next meal was coming from, and getting to work with animals in the open air appealed to me. I was 20 when I went to work on the farm, and well, fast forward 5 years and the owner of the farm passed away. I wondered who would inherit the ranch, if they would still keep me on, and if they didn't, I hoped I would be able to find work on another farm or ranch because it was something I really liked. I was asked to attend the reading of the will, and I wondered why, but went along anyway. I was stunned when I was told that I was the new owner of the farm. I had known that Mr. McKeach hadn't had children, but I'd expected that there would be some relatives somewhere to take it over, but it turned out that he only had some cousins, many of them middle-aged or more. He gifted them some family heirlooms and other personal mementos, but the farm actually went to me. I'm a man who doesn't tend to cry, but I did that day. I went to work ensuring that everything went smoothly on the farm. I moved into the main house and hired a farmhand to help me out. I loved working close to the land and felt extremely fortunate to be there. Things were going along well until I offered to host a friend's bachelor party at the farm. I'm not someone who has much use for the internet and social media. I used it a bit but kept a fairly low profile. Mostly, I just used the messaging features to keep in touch with the few friends that I'd managed to keep over the years. However, photos of the bachelor party were shared fairly often, and long story short, word of them reached my parents and my brothers that I hadn't had contact with in over a decade. Other than perhaps an occasional online message, I'd never shared pictures of the farm or let them know that I'd finally found a good life. But now that they knew I did, they wanted a piece of it, if not all of it. They believed that my younger brother was entitled to my little piece of paradise. My parents had not been good to me growing up. They had always favored my brother. He had been good at school and had won awards which had impressed them, unlike me who had struggled academically. I'd never been much good at sports either, and so my dad, who loved football, had not been able to bond with me on that front either. It had been a toxic household, and living in shelters or on friends' couches had not been better for me when I got up the courage to leave at 16. I could be bitter about my upbringing, but I put that behind me a long time ago because I believed that if I hadn't left, I may never have met Mr. McKeach and ended up on the farm. Anyway though, my brother and parents began messaging me non-stop asking to visit the farm. I did not want to see them, and after so many years they really didn't mean much to me anymore. But I hoped that if they saw how far from the city my home was, that maybe they'd stop bothering me. I agreed that they could come, but they would have to stay in a hotel if they planned to stay overnight. They reluctantly agreed despite saying that I likely had tons of rooms and was just being selfish, making them spend money on their trip. "It is too nice a place for you to have all by yourself," said my mother when she arrived. "Besides, your brother is a much smarter man than you. He would be better suited to run this place. He could take it to another level with his business sense." "I may not be the best at reading and writing," I replied, "but I managed just fine here. I don't need to be giving it to my brother or anyone else." Mr. McKeach figured I was smart enough to own the farm, and I planned to continue doing so. "Come on, Sean," said my brother. "We could fire your farmhand and you could do all that work for me, while I figure out a way to make this place better. You have fences that are missing paint and trees that are scraggly, so you're not really managing all that well, are you?" It was true that there were some things that still needed to be worked on around the farm, but it was not because I couldn't do it. There were just a lot of things to manage, and my farmhand and I prioritized the most important ones. However, I didn't tell that to my family. They looked down on me for the little things that they felt were wrong. They couldn't be happy that there were a lot of things that were actually going well, like the animals in the barn and chicken coop that were happy and healthy because of the care I helped give them. My parents tried to guilt-trip me into giving up what was rightfully mine, what I had earned without any help from them. But I was stronger than I was growing up. This time I was able to tell them no, however, that began a long reign of terror. The next thing I knew, lies were being spread about me in my town, and someone tried to break into my home. However, they did not succeed because the motion detectors that were in the yard went off. I have these mostly to alert me to predators that could harm my animals, but this time they worked on the two-legged variety too. I asked them to stop and just let me lead my life. I told them that my brother was educated and could find a job on his own and that he did not really need my farm. I decided to consult a lawyer to see if they could help protect me from my family. My brother and parents constantly told me that my farm belonged to them and that they were gonna get it. I needed to be sure that I was legally protected here and that they did not have a way of taking it away from me in some underhanded way. I also filed a police report and restraining order to keep my parents and brother from being able to contact me because I had tried just blocking their phone numbers in social media, but they just kept creating fake ones or having friends of theirs contact me. So I'd had enough. I did not want to be bothered every time my phone made a noise, thinking it had to do with them. However, they still found a way to contact me. They would mail me letters telling me how much they needed the farm and that it was not like they were going to kick me out. I could still look after the animals because they stunk, and my brother was not someone who should get his clothing dirty. Do they think a farm is a joyride? I asked my lawyer. Don't let them get at you, said my lawyer. They're trying to intimidate you. We can go to the police with the letters and have your family arrested for violating the restraining order if you want to. Well, I don't really want to, I said, but I think I need to. So that is how my parents ended up going to jail for a night before getting arrested a few months later after their names popped up on some tax documents that showed they were committing tax fraud. It turned out they were hoping my farm could become part of their scheme and they could funnel losses through it. It turned out that despite my brother being academically intelligent, he had made some bad business decisions and had gotten in over his head. He had always had a sense of entitlement, but this time, demanding that he was in the right was not gonna save him. And as my parents had been in business with him and knew, they were also charged by the IRS. They all ended up getting sentenced to jail, and that meant I was free to go back to my life on the farm without them bothering me. "How could you?" screamed my parents in the courtroom as they were taken away. "You destroyed your family. You're worthless and have always been and always will be." I had chosen to go to their trial hoping it would give me closure. I'm not sure if it did much for me, especially with what they had shouted at the end of the trial. However, I knew that I had to let the past stay there because otherwise I would not be able to bring myself any peace. And I deserve to be happy too. I had worked too hard trying to look after myself to let them make me feel bad for their decisions. A few months later, I ended up meeting a lovely woman who I plan to ask to be my wife. I've been living happily on my farm, and with Beth by my side, we are working on painting fences and tidying up the orchard. I've also hired a second farmhand, and things are going better than ever for me. I learned that family is not about blood, it is about the people you chose to surround yourself with, and even though I grew up in a toxic situation, it doesn't mean that I have to be part of one. And one day, if I have children, I plan to do things differently so that they never have to go through what I did. I don't want them to run away from home and need to rely on friends and shelters to get their footing. Also, I hope they can always feel like the farm is a place for them, and who knows, maybe someday we will be able to expand to a place that can sustain more than one generation. The next one is a petty revenge story. So I have a dear friend, Shannon, fake name, in her early 60s, and as a toddler, her parents divorced and dad remarried a petty woman, Cruella, who wanted him to cut ties with Shannon. They still managed a relationship, but not as close as it should have been during her years growing up. Shannon married young and struggled a lot, but raised her 3 girls into young women who all now have families of their own, and Shannon is now a proud grandma and great-grandma. But back to Cruella. When Shannon was still in her 20s and had left her first husband, a cheater and criminal for her own sanity and the safety of her and her daughters, her dad had told her to come home and he would help her with a place to stay. Upon arrival, Cruella, she controlled finances, said that she was unwelcome and on her own. Shannon figured it out, and again the girls grew up healthy and loved, and Shannon remarried a loving man, but for 30 years she was never allowed to visit her father for Christmas or holidays or birthdays. Cruella died this year. Shannon was invited for Christmas and her father surprised her by letting her know that he was paying off her mortgage. It could never make up for not being there when she was younger, but it could give her some comfort now that she is retired. However, when they went to the bank today, she learned where the money came from. It is Cruella's life insurance payout. Cruella would roll over in grave if she knew that her life insurance went to pay off the house of the stepdaughter she wanted to deny existed for nearly her whole life. And the next one is a malicious compliance story. And if you have watched until here and enjoy my daily content, then please don't forget to like the video and maybe even post a comment, since that would help me tremendously in regards to defeating the stupid YouTube algorithm. When I was younger, around a decade ago, I used to love 2 things, cars and roads. And still to this day, I love cars, but the way I loved roads was through maps. My favorite activity when I was bored was to go on the Maps app and look at the highways that surrounded my area. My oldest sister at the time was the only sibling of mine who had a license. One summer day, she was bored and decided to take me and her boyfriend to an amusement park an hour and a half away from home. The story begins on the way back. My father needed the car at the dealership as it was scheduled to have routine maintenance done the next morning. My father sent her the address of the dealership and requested that she drop the car off and he will go and pick us up at the dealer. Now that the context is out of the way, here is where my sister made a mistake. She typed in the address and clicked on the nearest place with that road. The issue is that the nearest place with that road was a town going an hour in the opposite direction. She gets onto a road I will call State Route 100. This intersects with Interstate 1, which we were supposed to get onto. When she passes the highway, this following interaction ensues. Me, you were supposed to make that right. Her, that's not what the map says. 5 minutes later I say again, me, we are heading in the wrong direction. This doesn't go home. Her, maybe it's an alternate route that's faster. Me, I don't think a road going in the opposite direction is faster. She cut me off. Her, now annoyed, listen, I'm gonna focus on what the map says, not on you. Just stop already. And with that, I followed her instruction. After all, why would I complain on going on a road I've never been on? From what I remember after that, we stopped for gas about half an hour in. My sister was still convinced that we were going in the right direction, but why should I correct her? She is listening to the map after all. The fallout, we hit an expressway and my sister is convinced we made it home and is pleased with herself. This was until an overhead sign said, Town B Regional Airport 1 mile. At this point, my sister realized her mistake. She starts freaking out, saying, I didn't know this road went here. I was following the map. OP, why didn't you tell me we were going the wrong way? I was scared of her getting mad at me, so I just said, after you told me to stop, I just stopped paying attention to where you were going. She eventually pulled into a gas station and saw where she set her GPS to. After correcting her mistake, we headed the opposite direction, although the car ride was rather silent. We eventually see signs for the amusement park we started at because she had to turn left at the road I originally told her to turn at. And that is how I turned a drive supposed to be an hour and a half into a 3.5 hour journey. Years have passed since this happened and I told my father, who thought it was hysterical. I often consider telling my sister, but we sadly rarely speak anymore. Thank you for reading, have a happy new year. And yeah guys, before we end the video, we will read one last petty revenge story that you don't want to miss. It is titled, She Stole My Snack and I Swapped It Spicy. So we got a snack thief at work. The fridge is shared, so stuff goes missing sometimes, but my stuff kept vanishing. Always the chips, never the sandwich, never the fruit, just the snacks. At first I thought maybe someone grabbed it by mistake, but it kept happening. The same brand, the same time of day, and I'm 99% sure it was one specific coworker who always stayed late and forgot her lunch. So I grabbed a bag of ghost pepper chips, a PAQUI, and emptied them into my usual chip bag. Sealed it back up nice and neat, stuck it in my lunchbox like nothing changed. Around 1 PM I hear this loud coughing fit in the break room, like full-on choking, water being poured out, someone trying not to die. She then comes back red-faced, watery eyes and totally in silence, did not even look at me, sat at her desk the rest of the day, not saying a word. I nearly choked on my food trying not to laugh. I have not lost a snack since then. And yeah guys, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and I will see you again tomorrow.